Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new video on the FPL Mike channel. And today, I'm gonna bring you some of the best 4.5 million defenders in FPL. And this is a channel where we talk about all things FPL. So give it a listen, guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and we just jump straight into it. The first player I'm bringing you guys is Joachim Andersen. At 4.5 million, he scored 121 points last season. He started all 38 games and he got 2 goals scored and 3 assists. The XG from last season for Joachim is 1.75 and the XA is 2.08, which match his real numbers and showcase that he do have the attacking threat to score that many goals and provide that many assists. Also, he also got 10 clean sheet last season on 53.71 expected goal concede. That shows a very solid defense of Crystal Palace. Because you know, last season Palace been through some coaching changing from Patrick Vieira to whoever it is, and then to Glasner. I think this is the first full preseason under Glasner, which is the previous Frankfurt coach, I believe. And the full preseason makes Glasner have more ability to develop players, develop players' potential, and building a more mature defensive system. So I think Crystal Palace defense is going to improve this season, and that's why I think Joachim Andersen at 4.5 million is one of the best players among this price tag. We can see from the team select 22.6% people of the FPL players selected him. He got 3.2 points per match last season. I think under Glasner, Joachim Andersen is a nailed-on starter. He's going to play all 38 games. He got the headers you need. He got the goal threats you need. He will get you returns throughout the season. So I think at this price tag, Joachim Andersen is definitely one of the best values player you'll get in this price tag. And the fixtures for Crystal Palace is pretty good. So you got Brentford away, West Ham home, Chelsea away, Leicester at home, and Man United at home. So the first 5 fixtures are pretty decent, and follow on with another few decent fixtures despite the Liverpool and the Spurs game. So I think there is potential 3 to 4 clean sheets in the first 10 matchup, and you can definitely look out at Joachim Andersen. And the teams that match Crystal Palace fixtures well are Everton and Brentford. So Everton, the player at 4.5 million, the only 4.5 million player for Everton is Mikalenko. All Brentford and Tarkowski at 5 million price tag. Under Sean Dyche, Everton last season are tremendously good on defense, with only 37 goals conceded on 39.97 expected goal conceded. That shows you how solid their defense are. Mikalenko started 28 games last season. He got 101 points, an stunning average of 3.6 points per match, which is 0.5 higher than both Tarkowski and Jared Brentwaite. With potential Brentwaite leaving and Mikalenko at this price tag, 4.5 million, 0.5 million cheaper than Brentwaite and Tarkowski, I think his value is very, very good. He's got 2 goals and 1 assist, which also match the expected goal involvement as well. So I think with such a solid Everton defense, if you want a 4.5 million defender, Mikalenko is definitely the one to go for. I think Everton defense are overall just very, very solid among all the Premier League teams. I think they're a top 6 defensive team last season. And take a look at the fixtures. Game week 1 Brighton, game week 2 Spurs, game week 3 Bournemouth. And game week 4 Villa, 5 Leicester, Palace, Newcastle, Ipswich, Fulham, and Southampton. Those red fixtures you can put Joachim Andersen in, and those red fixtures in the Palace game you can put Mikalenko in. So they form a very good rotation between Mikalenko and Joachim Andersen. So I will recommend Mikalenko if you want to go for a 4.5 million defender as well. I think the important to go for 4.5 million defender is you form a very consistent rotation between the few defenders you chose. So you always get a nice fixtures run, like a green fixtures on your way. So first game week, one of them got Brighton, the other ones got Brentford. So no matter what, the third game week, you're not playing Joachim Andersen. Instead, you'll play Mikalenko, who's got Bournemouth home. And the fourth game, we're going to play back to Joachim Andersen again. So I think Mikalenko and Joachim Andersen is a very, very good rotational partner. in your back line if you want to save more money for your front court. So I think Mikalenko at 4.5 million is definitely worth a go for me. He could be a bargain. He won't score that many goals, but the Everton's solid defense is enough to cover the returns that he missed. And on the other hand, Joachim Anderson, who's got enough goal threat, who could provide you some returns, will make a very good rotation with Mikalenko. Now that the third defender I'm gonna go for is gonna be a Brentford player, which is Rico Henry. Of course, we still don't know his availability yet. He should be fit after the injury. He only played 5 games last season. He scored 13 points and got 1 goal. Rico Henry is a very attacking centre back, and under Thomas Frank, Rico Henry performed really well last season in the few games we've seen, and in the previous season as well. So I see a lot of people going for Ben Mee because he looks like the nailed-on starter. But I think for me, take a look at Rico Henry, because if he's fit, he can play. He's almost certain to start every single game, and he will probably play in the left back position, if I didn't remember wrong. And with 0.6% team selected by, he could be an absolute bargain, and he could be the player in your team that stand out as a dark horse of the season. Of course, the fixtures aren't looking great, but you're having him for the rotation as well. The third game week, you don't play Anderson, you play Rico Henry. And then moving on, 6 to 10 game week 6 to 10 are fantastic, which Crystal Palace have a slightly worse fixtures than. They got Liverpool at game week 7, and I believe it's Spurs at game week 9. At those 2 game weeks, you can play Rico Henry. So I think Rico Henry at this price tag is another player that you need to look out for. With 0.6% people choosing him, I think he could be a steal in your team. If he's fit. If he's not fit, then go for Ben Mee, because I think a Brentford defender is worth a try at 4.5 million, because they're always solid on expected goal concede. We can look at Collins and see what their expected goal concede. 41 goal expected goal concede, but they conceded 51. That's massively like underperforming. So with this number, you can expect Brentford to have a very solid defense again this season. So I think a Brentford defender is worth a try, and if Rico Henry is fit, then he's definitely the go for me. And then the next 2 teams I'm going to talk about is going to be Newcastle and Aston Villa, which they all have pretty good fixtures along the way. This multiple Aston Villa defenders that priced at 4.5 million. Alex Moreno and Luke Dean I'll avoid, because Ian Maatsen comes for the left back position, and Luke Dean and Alex Moreno probably won't get enough minute. Diego Carlos, I'm going to just slip past through because of his injury prone. He only played 20 games last season and 2 games at the season before. He's a very good goal threat, but with his availability and his injury stats, I'm just going to go past him. Matty Cash, it's worth a go, but I think he started to lost his position quite a bit last season, at the end of the last season, so I'm not very sure about how his availability at Aston Villa, so we've got to wait and see. The 4.5 million defender Aston Villa that deserves to go for is Pau Torres, who they bought from Villarreal last season or the season before, and the second one is Ezri Konsa. Ezri Konsa got more goal threat than Pau Torres. He got 2.56 XG last season and 1.01 XA last season. Villa defense are not particularly satisfying to loads of people, because you'd expect they do much better than that. 52 expected goal concede, which is even lower than Everton and Brentford. But their attack is so good, so that makes a lot of people ignore the fact that their defense is actually not as ideal as you could imagine. With Champions League this season, I'm not sure they will still perform as what it was last season, although they do got some new players like Maatsen, and they got Onana, but I'm not sure whether that will make a huge difference on their defense. So first game week is West Ham and Arsenal, and then Leicester, Everton, Wolves, Ipswich. So pretty decent, pretty good starting fixtures run, despite the Arsenal game. So if you want to go for a Villa defender, 4.5 million, it will be Ezri Konsa or Pau Torres. Ezri Konsa is more attacking. Attacking wise, you'll get you more goal threat. And for Pau Torres, he's just the solid. He's gonna be the main man for Aston Villa in that back line. So he's probably gonna start more game than Ezri Konsa. So yeah, that's the Aston Villa defender to go for. And then Aston Villa defender surprisingly goes, I believe, pretty well with Brighton. And the only nailed on player in Brighton is going to be Lewis Dunk. We know the goal threat he can provide it, and we know Brighton's defense is going to improve this season under the new coach, who is a very defensive coach at St. Pauli, the youngest coach ever. 49 expected goal conceded. Opening fixtures are not good, but follow up you get Ipswich and Forest, and then Wolves. Most likely, Lewis Dunk will be on your bench in most of the games until game week 11. But afterwards, from game week 12 to 18, that's when, if you got a Villa defender, that's when you put Lewis Dunk in, because their fixtures will look terrible from then on. So if you want to go for a Brighton defender, it's going to be Lewis Dunk. He got the goal threat you need. 3 goal last season, 3 XG, 2.2 for XA. Absolutely nailed on the starter. Enough attacking returns got threat. So Lewis Dunk is a very, very solid option. For other 4.5 million defender, because we know Brighton likes to rotate the backline very much. So from the preseason game, we see Igor Julio starting. We all think it's going to be Valentine Barco, but instead is Igor. If Lamptey can be a nailed-on start at 4.5 million, he could be a very, very good price tag. He's very attacking. He can provide you returns, but we don't know. We just don't know who will start in that Brighton defense. So I think Lewis Dunk, if you want to go for a Brighton defender, Lewis Dunk is the one. And next one, moving up, we're going to Newcastle, which they have a very solid defense. There isn't many 4.5 million defenders. The one to look for is Dan Burn for me. 24.1 team selected by, 4th highest among 191 defenders. Dan Burn is a solid starting in that Newcastle team. I'm not sure this season because they brought in Lewis Hall, who can also play the left back position, and Dan Burn is quite tall, so he's particularly slow. I don't know how Eddie Howe would do with that. But from the last 2 seasons, we see what he can do, and we see the goal threat he can provide, and we see how many games he played. 35 games and 32 games. 2 goals, 2 assists last season. I'm expected 4.5 expected goal involvement, 46 expected goal concede. A very, very solid defender from Newcastle. So 4.5 million price tag. He's another to go for. Very good opening fixtures despite the Spurs game. So he's a very good collocation again with the players like Joachim Andersen, the likes of Mikolenko, the likes of Brentford defender, and even Brighton players. So yeah, Dan Burn is the Newcastle 4.5 million defender to look out. Botman, unfortunately, he's injured. He's not going to be back until December the 28th, but he's going to be a good player to fit. So keep an eye on that. Lascelles, he's not gonna play. Lewis Hall, that's the dude from Chelsea. He plays the left back position, so there could be a potential minute risk between him and Dan Burn. We're gonna wait and see more preseason games to see who's gonna start there. Another very interesting 4.5 million defender is Tino Livramento, who bought from Southampton 2 years ago. Because there is rumor around Kieran Trippier being sold. So if Kieran Trippier is being sold and Tino Livramento and 4.5 million price tag, he's going to be the nailed-on starting right back in that Newcastle team, which will make him an absolute bargain player. With only 1.1% selected, keep an eye on Tino Livramento and keep an eye on Kieran Trippier, because once Kieran Trippier is gone, he's going to start in that right back position and he's going to be a nailed-on starter, and he can provide loads of goal threat for that Newcastle team, and he could be an absolute bargain for me. And the last team we're going for is going to be Fulham. So they got 2 good wing back. One is Castagne, one is Robinson. Robinson, I've talked about loads of times. Amazing player in the left back position. Started 37 out of 38 games last season. very attacking, provide you enough good goal threat, very good opening fixtures. Two of the newly promoted team in the first 3 game weeks. Just look at him. Just take a look at him. He could be a potential very, very good bargain player for you in the team if you want to go for a 4.5 million defender. And the second one is Castagne, Timothy Castagne. He does have one more points than Robinson, but for some reason he seems to miss this game, that game for some odd reasons. He used to play for Leicester. He's very attacking, but because of the uncertainty in the game time played, I'll not go for him. Instead, I'll go for Antonio Robinson instead, because 37 start is just amazing, and Robinson could be an absolute bargain for me. And that's and if you want to look out Bournemouth player, you can go for one Zabani. Normally, if Senesi is 4.5 million, I'll go for Senesi, but if you go for a Bournemouth player, then go for him. It could be a differential. Not ideal starting fixtures, but follow on Southampton and Leicester in 6 and 7 could be good. You could of course bring a West Ham defender like Emerson and Killerman. I think Ainoria 4.5 million is very intriguing, but Wolves just have a terrible opening fixture. They have to play Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa, Liverpool, Man City, and even Brighton in the first 9 game weeks. So I'm not even going to look at them until after game week 9. So yeah. And I think that will conclude. Oh, no, another thing. The Chelsea defenders. The Chelsea 4.5 million defenders look promising as well. So they got the Zazi, Tosin Adebayo. Colwell is the one to look for. I think if he's fit, he's going to be play in the left centre-back position along the season, and he's going to be a nailed-on starter. And Chelsea have a very good fixtures from game week 2 to game week 7. So check out more on pre-season games with Chelsea and see who plays that in the centre-back pairing. Levi Colwell is the one to look at. And of course, the Zazi is another one to look at. So you don't know. Of course, you don't know who's going to start in that centre-back position for Chelsea. So whoever starts there, I think they could be a good option between game week 2 and game week 7. Because Chelsea just have really, really amazing fixtures. So yeah, that's for Chelsea. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoy it. Leave a like and leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Yeah, that's the best 4.5 million defenders you can get in the market right now. Hope you enjoy. See you next time. Click the bell icon and hit the subscribe button. See ya.